All right, today is the 31st of October, 2024. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, a clothing company that is so much more than just a clothing company. We're gonna have this guy driving by for just a second. I'll pause for just a second. City workers doing maintenance and stuff over here. So, we are so much more than just a clothing company. We are called In The Image Clothing Company because we are all universally designed in the image of our living God, who is Jesus Christ. So we have In The Image Clothing Company podcast as well, where we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. But as far as what we do at In The Image Clothing Company for the body is, it's about the body. We're not just a clothing company selling clothing. We will have clothing available, but we discuss the body as it is and as it was before we came into this world and got altered through man-made flat things when our hands are rounded and our feet have natural rounding to them within the arches of them. And clothing being the only thing placed physically directly on us at all times is the only thing that has the potential to alter our bodies to that degree. Because all times that is placed on us, if it's imbalanced left to right or front to back, when we have to just, accommodate for gravity pulling us straight down from our center, being the sternum, and behind that's the spine and the nose. And then also if it's made out of unnatural man-made materials, the body has to kind of like figure out how to just adapt to that when really it can't, because the body's always going to be natural and those materials aren't. So yeah, we show how to get back to center line, which is something we just naturally have. We don't have an opinion about that. We don't have a say over that. We just have a center, because if not, we would either fall over because gravity's just doing its thing, or our body has to use so many muscles within it, stabilizing muscles and muscles in ways they aren't even designed to work, to try to hold us vertical if there's anything pulling us out of our center. So I've had a few prerequisites since before I even founded In The Image Clothing Company, just to allow the body to have a chance to operate natural, okay? And those are to lace your shoes with the technique that you can find where you find In The Image Clothing Company information online. Our official domain is InTheImageClothingCompany.com, but as of the date that I said today it's not quite up and running, but you can probably go there depending on when you are seeing this. But anywhere online in 2024 that you can see In The Image Clothing Company, or whatever year it is that you are watching this, find us. There's that technique, including tying your shoes evenly over toward the inside. That will just reinforce a natural body. Any other shoelacing or tying combination that you could possibly choose from, I know that's bold, but it is true, will alter your foot to some degree. And the foot just has all the workings that it has in the only way that it does those things. Man. But yeah, the tendons, ligaments, muscles, bones within the foot only do what they do. And our shoelacing and tying technique is the only way. I know it's bold, but it's the only way within like a traditionally eyelet laced shoe to allow your foot to just be the shape that it is. So pairing that with removing tags, all of them, from within the shoes that you're wearing, they're normally in the tongues. That will affect the way that your foot works as well, and then up through the entirety of all the clothing you ever wear. Tags are causing unnatural gaps in only the location that they're placed, which is altering the body's position and its natural workings. And they're also made out of, like I was discussing, synthetic man-made materials almost always in 2024, to where the body doesn't want to have to come in contact with that, and it's being placed inside of clothing, pressing it physically against you without being able to do anything about it besides removing it, which is what we do. So I'm not sure if I fully said, but we talk about the skeletal system of the body here, because the fat content comes and goes different times in our lives. The muscle mass comes and goes at different times in our lives. And if you're trying to get your body to do something by working on its musculature, all the muscle of the body does is operate the skeletal system. It hinges it, it pivots it, it rotates it, and that's all it does. And so the foundation is what we need to focus on, which is the skeletal system. So We just have a natural positioning that we do have, and we work out of that position, doing everything from there, really the only way the body actually works. Because I mentioned a lot of the time, the problem with working on the musculature of the body, doing gym workouts and things that I've personally done in the past, but the problem with that is if we're not allowing, through our clothing, our bodies to be in their natural position, foundation-wise, then anything that we do for the musculature of the body out of that incorrect position is actually further ingraining a patterning that is not even the way the body actually works. So it's actually very damaging to do any kind of musculature workouts if the body's not already in its proper position, just the position it would be in without being restricted and altered through the things that we discuss here at In The Image Clothing Company. So what I'm talking about within this video is scapular winging. If you know In The Image Clothing Company, if you know me, Evan Strong, being the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, I talk about the scapulas all the time. These big bones on your back. You have one on this side, and over here you have one on this side. That bone that your shoulder is, really. I mean, that's really what the shoulder is the scapula. Because all the muscles, the deltoid, the bicep, the triceps, the pec in its way, the lat, all the rotator cuff muscles, even the traps, and everything that could possibly be going into the shoulder and its natural position and its mobility and function, it really kind of boils down to the scapulas as that bone being what's allowing the shoulder to have motion. So because the shoulder being this upper arm here, right, this bone here, this humerus coming up into this socket, that socket really is made up of the way that the clavicle comes up and in, and that scapula comes up. That socket's really just made up of multiple bones, right? As I'm talking about, it's the skeletal system. So having those bones all be coming to the position they were designed to come to encapsulate this upper arm, that's the position that we're talking about. And then from there, the muscles just allow movement in that position. If you look at like where my shoulder's sitting right here, just in its like natural position, if I'm right here, I'm trying not to turn my back to the camera so much. In older videos, I would just do a lot of like turning around, and I was doing it to show visuals, but then it's like I'm just facing the opposite direction. But if my shoulder's in its natural position, nothing moves. Like look at like these fingers, they're in the same spot, but the shoulder has all of its range of motion from here. And so that's what I talk about when I say a natural positioning, because if people are having their shoulders like down here, you're not going to get any kind of range of motion. It only works where all the bones are connecting where they're designed to, which is up here, right? So there's a few videos I'm going to mention real quick for In The Image Clothing Company that'll give you a lot of like understanding of the anatomy that you can go find as well as this video if you'd like to. I have a video titled Natural Collarbone Angle, where I discuss that, right? Where the collarbone angle naturally is to allow that shoulder to be in its natural position. I have a video as well for In The Image Clothing Company titled Shoulders Naturally Sit Behind the Body, and I went into depth of the anatomy of the shoulder relating with the entire natural body within that video. Those two videos I'm going to mention, at least up until this point within this video, because that'll give you a lot of understanding of just the natural positioning of the shoulder. So with that being said, scapular winging is something that's talked about a lot, and I feel like it's talked about with a lot of misunderstanding, even from specialists, even from doctors. And if you know me, Evan Strong, being the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, I got a little bit of a thing with doctors and specialists, and I explain why it's not out of some kind of emotion on my part. We have to look at the body as a whole, because the body works as a whole. And if anything within the body, even something that seems like small in a sense, if it's not working correct, something else and many things within the body have to compensate to just allow us to stay vertical, to allow us to keep breathing, because just breathing alone, which is the foundation of our human existence, takes so many muscles within the body naturally, and that's good. That's just how it is. The point being, if anything's out of its natural position, your breathing patterns will be altered. And if your breathing patterns are altered, since everything's working to just stabilize the body while you breathe, then your entire body in some degree is being altered. So you have to look at the body as a whole, regardless of if it's me saying that or me doing that or who. It's just the body works as a whole. And a lot of times specialists, because they're focusing on a specialty, like one thing, like a hand doctor, for example, or a throat doctor, or somebody who's just only looking at one part of the body almost always, a lot of times they're giving, and I don't care how this sounds, it's the truth, a lot of times they're giving wrong and false, incorrect, bad diagnoses, because they aren't looking at the body how it actually works. And we don't know what we don't know, but if you're a doctor and if you're, that's a different story. So anyway, because I'm not a doctor, I'm just somebody who knows quite a bit about the body, but I'm not operating on people. So anyway, the point is about the scapulas and their natural positioning is, anytime there's anything, this is what I'm talking about, with the body working the only way it does, and we have to look at things that are so far away from something we're trying to address. So if you have a heel on the shoe, your shoulder position gets altered. Like if I'm wearing barefoot shoes right now, my feet are completely flat on the ground as if I had no shoes on. And the soles of the shoes are so thin to where they can grip the grass pretty well, close to as if I had no shoes on. So the position my shoulders are in, it's just how they would be in natural. And everything else within my clothing, all the prerequisites have been done, plus many other modifications that I've personally done within all the items of clothing, just about all the items of clothing that I'm wearing right now, to allow my body to work. The point is, my shoulders right now are just allowed to be pretty much identical to the position they'd be in if, out of modesty, I wasn't wearing clothing right now and standing in the same location on the grass. That's our goal here, right? So, and that's really how my body, within the clothing that I personally wear because of what I do to it, is allowed to operate, right? So the position I'm in here is just completely natural. Now, if I were to have a heel on my shoe, my shoulders would go there, okay? My heels are back down here, natural position. If I had a heel, my shoulders would be here. And I discuss, when I talk about heels on shoes, it can be like a tennis shoe that just has a higher heel area than toe area or forefoot area. It can be very small, but no matter what, it's altering the body's natural workings, okay? So what that can do is place your shoulders, and what that will, without a say on anybody's part, if they're within shoes with any kind of heel on it, will place your shoulders in an unnatural position. Now, if you have that paired with tying your shoes any kind of uneven that isn't the way that I discuss how to tie shoes within the prerequisites, evenly over toward the inside, that's the only way to allow your body to be natural. That's it. If you do any kind of thing where you just don't tie your shoes and you try to just keep laces horizontal because that way they're not twisting or pulling or anything, well, your foot does kind of move inward, and so you do have to have the shoelacing and tying technique that we use for In The Image Clothing Company. You really do. It's not an opinion, you really do. That's just the way the foot is shaped. So with that being said, if people are tying their shoes unevenly, and it's just because 85% of the population of the earth, give or take, are right-handed, it's almost always toward the right side of the body that people are tying their shoes, both of them, which is uneven. I was doing it for 24 years, at least, when I started tying shoes up until I was 24. I'm not condemning, not saying you shouldn't be doing this, and it's so bad and wrong on your part, because of what you've done, but it's bad for the body. The body only works how it works. So, and the point is we have that center. Now, what I want to focus on with scapular winging is, so often if people do have what they would call scapular winging, and maybe I didn't fully describe yet what that is, but winging meaning like the scapulas are kind of coming off of the back in a position that looks like wings almost. That's why they call it that. Now, people normally only have that on one side versus the other, and I've talked about this so often where even what we would think of as like quote unquote bad posture is almost never like an even forward. People aren't walking around like this. People are in a twist because of, well, what I'm mentioning with the shoelacing is the first thing within clothing being the foundation of our bodies. And so they're walking around in a little bit of a twist, and they fall to where they can just like kind of hold themselves up. So now they're really here, external here on the side that they're tying towards, and internal on the other side. So now they're standing like this through everything in life, almost never actually on that right foot, because just the position of that external rotation, the weight's over that left foot. And this right side, same thing, internal rotation isn't quite even allowed to happen at all on that right side. And I've discussed this within a lot of videos for In The Image Clothing Company. You can check out, I have a video titled The Right Side of the Body, where I discuss just how destroyed that right side of the body is getting if that's the side you are tying your shoes toward. I also have a video titled There Is a Lot to Internal Rotation. That video is beautiful. I did a video yesterday, as long as it was yesterday, maybe 2 days ago, titled Internal Rotation is Closed Yet Open, and those two videos go together. So that'll give you a lot of context on what internal rotation is. What I want to discuss though with that right shoulder is that's the side that people will be having this like scapular winging on. And what's really happening is just its lack of, here's that little cart again, one second. The body naturally dwells within internal rotation over external. And people are so chronically, constantly in a state of external rotation, walking with their feet pointing out, and their hands like down here, and their shoulders so rounded but external. That's what I'm showing here. This right side's the one that's worse. And a lot of that is to do with what we're using with our hands and the position that we're holding our hands in external rotation. A lot of it is oversized clothing falling to that side. No matter what it is, it's normally the right side that's so, like, if these are my scapulas, this is my right scapula as it is, right? I'm just showing it as if like you're looking at me. That right scapula is normally kind of like up and off of the rib cage, or like maybe it's like looking like it's down, but really it's just so external that the muscles that hold it against the back aren't allowed to actually activate. The reason is just because these chronic holy noise. I mean, I'm just outside. I got no say over what's going on, but it's a lot of noise. The right side is just in a patterning from clothing and from the things that we're taking part in holding in our hands in the position of this external rotation. So it's like what I talk about with anything within the body. No matter how much you want to go to chiropractic appointments to try to get your body to feel better, you walk out of that chiropractic office with your shoes tied uneven, you're going to go back in for the exact same reason you went in the first place. If you go out of that chiropractic office with oversized clothing, you're going to end up going back in, if you know, thinking that that's going to fix you, is going to a chiropractor, which we don't need except for very, very, very specific cases. Also, stretching and anything, I just talk about people are doing these things and then they just do it again and again and again and again. We don't know what we don't know, and that's fine, because I was doing similar things. Like stretching is one of those things. I was trying to get my body to feel right in the past, but I'd say how we shouldn't have to stretch, and I say it out of experience, and we discuss how to allow that to happen at In The Image Clothing Company. So the point is, we also say we don't have to work out or exercise to get up to some capability, because we just need to do what we need to do, and the body's designed to work if it's not being restricted or altered. So scapular winging, I relate human beings in physical function to animals a lot, and a good animal to look at is a tiger, like a cat, a wild cat, because when you watch a tiger walk, you'll see their scapulas are like, they move off of their back, and you can see it visually. So much motion, 20% battery, in their scapulas. They'll be walking, and I mean, to a degree that I couldn't show right now, like their scapulas are, within my personal scapulas is what I mean, they stick off of their body each step, and that's so healthy, because what it is motion. It's just, they have so much, because also if you watch cats like climbing a tree, like they just have so much motion in their shoulders, if you will, like if in their front legs or their arms, whatever you would want to describe it as, and like so much internal rotation, and you need mobility in those scapulas to move, to be able to have internal rotation at all. And so here comes these guys again. They're kind of going that way. So scapular winging, it needs to be seen out of what the rest of the body is doing as well, because really having your scapulas really mobile is so great. You can have so much stability within a lot of mobility at the same time. I think a lot of times there's this misconception that stability means having like a stiff body, and that's actually very bad to have, because if you don't have the full range of motion that the joints are designed to have, then they're going to be very limited and then potentially get injured really easily. What you need to do is allow each part of the body that has any kind of motion to at least not have any kind of restriction external of its full range of motion. And within those scapulas, there's so much mobility. That's why I like to look at tigers. I actually watched a Disney like documentary type thing on tigers a few nights ago. I love animals, and I'm vegetarian also, right? But no, seriously, I'm serious. So tigers, they have all that motion in there because it's so natural and healthy, and that's how they're so agile. So when doctors are looking at people and trying to diagnose what they would call scapular winging, they might look at somebody who has a healthier body than the majority, and they just have a lot of mobility in their scapulas. But this is where it comes, the whole thing comes in about me saying I got a little bit of a problem with doctors, because if they've read in a textbook that you shouldn't have scapulas coming off of your rib cage, and then they like perceive what they're looking at as if that's what's happening. Like right now, I don't know if you can see, but my scapulas are kind of pointing out off of my rib cage to a degree, and some people can't really even move their scaps at all, but it's just so natural if it's even, and if they're in a position where all the muscles working in conjunction are doing that. So yeah, scapular winging isn't a problem if it's just motion and healthy and even. But what does become a problem, and what people are trying to fix, and they're never going to by trying to address the shoulder, is that uneven scapular position because of shoe tying. And that's the reason. It's not an opinion, it's not some kind of this might help. That is the reason, period. If you're tying your shoes unevenly, your shoulders are just following what your hips are doing. Because if one of your legs is being pulled out always, that hip is twisted, the spine twists, the shoulders twist. And you're never going to get your shoulders even if your foundation is forced by a rope around your foot to be different, left or right. So that's the reason. It's not some reason, it's not something you could try, that's it, period. So you don't have to address your shoulder if you have a shoulder problem because of your shoelaces. You just gotta tie your shoes even. And again, I'm not like making fun of people for not doing that, because I didn't know until I knew, but you have to do it. So yeah, scapulas. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. Today's the 31st of October, 2024. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. We will have clothing available, and when we do, it will sit where all clothing, regardless of who you've purchased it from, needs to sit on the universal human design to allow the skeletal system to do its natural operation. Pants need to be entirely above the hips, slightly higher in the front than in the rear. The shoulders on the tops, the top seams need to sit behind that little bone on the top of the shoulders, and then the edge seams should ideally be right at the very edges of the shoulders. That's the locations clothing needs to sit on every and any human, no matter the gender, the height, the weight, whatever, the age, just to allow the skeletal system to do the only thing it was designed to do in the position that it works in. The only thing it actually does. That's how it's going to happen. So within In The Image Clothing Company's designs, that's what we'll always incorporate the intent on being for our clothing to sit there. And we don't have clothing available as of today's date, but it will come whenever it does. I'm not so worried about when it comes or doesn't come, because we are so much more than just a company selling clothing. So, but we will never have any kind of tags protruding from the inside. We will never have any kind of branding or logoing on the exterior. It will always be made out of 100% natural materials, with just the goal and the intent to allow the body to work. So it's actually kind of chilly out here. My fingers are feeling it more than anything within my body, but yeah, check out In The Image Clothing Company podcast, and there we go. Yeah, there's what I'm going to discuss for now on scapular winging. Okay, thank you.